It's Tuesday, July 4th, 2023. Look who joined us today. It's Mimi. She just wanted to come up here and wish everybody a fantastic, blessed 4th of July. A lot of people have been asking about her. She's growing. Look how much bigger she's getting. She's putting on a little bit of weight. She's doing really good. And she just wanted to come out and say hi to everybody. So I'll let her go play with Nugget. But we have a lot to talk about today. It is 4th of July. I wanted to make this video. First off, I just feel blessed to be in this country and so thankful for the people who fought so proudly and gave everything for this country so that we would have freedom here. And it is a very, very blessed day. I know many of you are probably barbecuing, spending time with family and friends. And it's, you know, it's not just cooking hot dogs and grilling today. Really think about what this day means. Most people have no idea what it means, but it is the independence of the United States of America. This is when we became a nation. This is when we detached from British rule, when we no longer kissed the hand of the king and queen and said, we're on our own. We don't want you. We don't need you. We're detached from you. We are our own nation with our own laws, our own rules, and our own freedom. And this has to be the most important day in our history. Yet most people, not most, but so many people take so much for granted being in this country. I was just listening to some people today speaking about coming from other countries like North Korea, where they didn't have running water, they didn't have hot water, they didn't have food, they didn't have freedom. And when they get here, they feel so blessed, and they look at how so many people take so much for granted in this nation. There's fast food restaurants on every corner, gas stations everywhere. There's still opportunity. We've lost a lot in this country. There's no doubt we have really slipped, but we still, in my opinion, live in the greatest planet on planet Earth, and I'm blessed to be here. Because think about if you were born somewhere else, what your life would be like right now. Would you have the opportunity that you had here in America? And yes, I understand we've lost a lot here in America, but it's not over, and we should never give up on this country. But again, I hope everybody has a great 4th of July. To all the people who served our country, who gave their lives for this country, all the people back, you know, from the beginning with our founding fathers and the beginning of our history. God bless America. If you think you have it bad here, you have no idea how bad you might have it somewhere else. So I want to shift gears here for a second. Last night we went and saw a movie. Now, I have not seen a movie, and this is no exaggeration, I've not seen a movie since 2003, so it's been 20 years. I have not bought a movie ticket, have not been in a movie theater for 20 years. Now, a movie came out that I saw a lot of talk, or heard a lot of talk about, saw a lot of reviews, a lot of people on YouTube talking about it. The movie called Sound of Freedom, and this movie is about human trafficking, and it's a very dark movie and exposes and sheds a lot of light on this demonic darkness. And this movie already in pre-sales yesterday, pre-sales did $10 million in pre-sales. It cost $5 million to make. You know, Mel Gibson was involved with it. And I don't support Hollywood. I don't support going to movies. But the company that made this, the production company, I believe is Angel Productions. This is someone or somebody we should be supporting. This is where our money should be going. This is where our time should be going. This is the stuff we should really be paying attention to, because there's no way we can fight this problem. There's no way we can fight something we know nothing about. And nobody really knows that this is a $152 billion a year industry. And it was a really, really great movie. These are great people that starred in it, produced it, supported it. This movie was made 5 years ago. It just got released yesterday. And it's doing very, very well. So I think that if you really care about what's happening, if you're walking close to God, if you care about children, if you care about doing the right thing and supporting the right people, not going to a baseball game, go watch this movie. Go give your $10 or $20 to these people who made this movie, who produced this movie, because this needs to be exposed. We need to support people exposing this. This was an incredible movie with an incredible message. I can't say enough about it. I saw a lot of reviews on YouTube, went and saw it last night, and I was not disappointed. And I think, again, this is where we have to really speak with our wallets, walk the walk, and support people like this with messages like this who are exposing demons like this. Getting into some more articles today. Red, White, and Who. Americans are just realizing the meaning, the true meaning of Independence Day. Only 59% know the real history of the 4th of July. Again, the Declaration of Independence was adopted today, July 4th, 1776. This is when we became a nation and we no longer lived under British rule. And thank God for that. So I want to acknowledge or respond to a comment somebody wrote yesterday. And they said that I only talk about bad things and there have always been bad things happening. And that is 100% true, except the bad things that are happening now are escalating. And it's becoming more and more common, and it's becoming more and more dangerous. And for instance, just the movie that I went and saw last night, that movie could have never been made back in the 1970s, 80s, or even 90s. That is now a $152 billion a year business. It is so demonic what is taking place. We didn't have to deal with things like that a few decades ago, like we're dealing with now. That is not to say that it didn't exist, but it is escalating out of control into a $152 billion a year business. Another thing, when we look at financially what's happening, I went back and looked at some of the data. Median price of a home in 1981. What was the median price of a home in 1981? Well, it was $47,000. What was the median income in 1981? Well, it was $22,390. So basically, 2 years of income equaled that house. Median price of a home today in 2023, $428,000, while the median income is $56,900. Now, offhand, I would say that you would have to multiply your income by about 7.5 times, 7.5 times to equal the price of a median home today. This is unsustainable. So you can go back to 1981 and look at your purchasing power. 2 years of income paid for a house, where now it takes 7.5 years of income to pay for a house. How about 7.5 million manufacturing jobs gone since 1980? What do you think that does to an economy? Here's a few other stats, which we've talked about many times. 100 million people right now not in the labor force. $32.3 trillion of debt. That's no big problem, right? Debt per taxpayer, $251,000. No big deal. 43 million people right now in America living in poverty. Our population is about 339 million. 43 million people on food stamps. U.S. trade deficit at $1.06 trillion. The trade deficit with China alone is $302 billion. Credit card debt, $1.3 trillion. Student loan debt, $1.8 trillion. And here's a big problem too, U.S. debt to GDP. Well, if we go back to 1960 and look at the U.S. debt to GDP, it was 52.7%. In 1980, we got it down to 34.6%. In 2000, it was 57.2%. And today, in 2023, it is 122.1%. See, what this individual does not realize is this is all unsustainable. And this is wrecking this country. It's taking a first world country down to a third world country. It is jeopardizing the well-being and the economy of this country, and it's destroying the standard of living for the average person, and it's destroying the middle class. Nobody's going to sit there and argue that the middle class is expanding. Everybody knows it's shrinking. Why is that? Well, because of this. And when you're printing money hand over fist, and you've lost 97, 98% of your purchasing power with the US dollar, which is now going to be challenged by other nations and other currencies. If you think your standard of living right now is going down, wait till we begin to see competition from the yuan or other currencies that are going to be partially backed by gold. So to this individual, who I think is very naive, and I think you should do your homework, and maybe you're doing really, really well, but you better take a real good look around. Take a look at also what's happening on the streets of America. Take a look at the homeless crisis, the drug crisis that is taking place in America. Did you see this back in the 1980s, 1950s? 1940s? Did you see homeless people everywhere? Did you see, 100,000 people dying of fentanyl overdoses every year? No. We're living in a much different time. And here's another article that reinforces it. This from the New York Post. 4 men killed, 2 children hurt after gunman wearing ballistic vest opens fire. This happened in Philadelphia. They caught the suspect Monday night. Again, this is just another reflection of what's happening in society, people running out of control. I was watching a video today of teenagers in Chicago, a city that I'm very familiar with where I grew up. Thousands of teenagers running around over the weekend in downtown Chicago, jumping on cars, smashing their hoods, smashing their windshields. And that's just entertainment. That's just having a good time. And they don't care about your cars. They don't care that businesses had to shut down. People in those businesses locked down, couldn't even leave their businesses because they were scared to death of being beaten. Is this normal? You don't think that things are getting worse? Yes, we've always had a degree of things being bad. That's the real world. There's always going to be good and bad. But we've never seen this degree of bad and getting worse as we're seeing right now. I mean, it's getting pure out demonic. Here's another one, Yahoo News. Mothers attacked by baseball bat wielding children as San Francisco crime wave intensifies. So we've got a baseball gang running around. What they were doing is they would go to this area where mothers and nannies would pick up their children from school, and they would threaten them with baseball bats. They would take their cell phones, take their wallets and purses, and everything's fine. That's normal? You think that we were seeing that back in 1980? And in the 90s and the early 2000s, no, this stuff is absolutely going ballistic. I've never seen this country in such disarray economically, socially, or spiritually. It is absolutely insanity with what we are watching take place. People acting like full-out animals. In fact, animals act way better than this. What these people are doing, it's unbelievable. And what does this look like a year from now? What does this look like when people get hungry? What does this look like when people get desperate? If they're doing this right now during stable times, again, I ask you this, what does this look like when we begin to hit real bad times in America? Will we begin to hit depressionary times like we saw from 1929 into the 30s where people were losing it all? They were hungry. They didn't have homes. I mean, you're going to be dealing with animals, with people who are willing to hit you over the head with a baseball bat just to take your cell phone right now. What would they do, to take a ham sandwich out of your hands? What would they do to come into your house and take everything you own, your assets, your food? Think about it, ladies and gentlemen. This is the real world. You better wake up. Here's another one. Household savings collapse sparks recession fears among economists. 70% of the U.S. GDP is represented by consumer spending, and consumers spending money they don't have using credit cards. Again, this is unsustainable. Just like these, these housing numbers where, people are spending 7.5% of their income purchasing a house. And 40 to 50% of their income every month on a mortgage. This is unsustainable, and you add people losing jobs on top of this, very unsustainable. This is why it's all going to crash, in my opinion. The savings rate right now today, 4.05%. In May of last year, it was 9.1%. So this is going to be another problem. And just looking at 9.1% last May. Well, I think we all know why it was 9.1%. We had stimmies, we had unemployment benefit money, we had PPP money still floating out there. People had, they had deep pockets at the time, so they had some change left over after buying the Chargers and Challengers and taking the weekend trips to Vegas. They had a little money left over. And some people did the right thing. They paid off their debts or paid them down, and most people didn't. Most people just kept spending, and now they can't save any money whatsoever because inflation is eating them alive. Prices of everything is going up, and now they're going to be very vulnerable here, and we're going to see more economic shock as this faltering economy continues to progress straight downhill. Most people, I think, have got to be honest with themselves and admit that this economy is failing. This economy is collapsing. In fact, many would argue, including myself, that it all collapsed back in 2008, never recovered. We don't know how bad it would have been back in 2008 because the government stepped in and began injecting trillions of dollars back into the economy, back into banks, back into corporations, back into car companies, saving everything. So we don't really know how far real estate prices were going to fall, how bad it really would have been, because they stepped in and they stopped the bleeding. But by doing so and not letting nature take its course and letting things fail, letting certain banks fail and certain corporations fail, all they did was put a Band-Aid on a gunshot wound, and now we have a massive infection. And this is going to be much, much worse than 2008. This right now, it just seems like every day it's a death by 1,000 cuts, 1,000 slashes. More and more people getting laid off, more companies shutting down, standard of living collapsing, the shrinking of the middle class. It just continues to be one thing after another. We can't even get airplanes to take off the ground at this point. We're completely now reliant on China for pharmaceuticals, cheap goods, minerals. Everybody wants to go EV, but what they don't think about is who's making the batteries? Where's the lithium coming from? Where's the cobalt coming from? Where's all this coming from? It's coming from China. And so, to think that we would ever get into a war with China, it's not going to happen, because China would just say, hey, we're going to cut your pharmaceuticals off. We're going to cut your batteries off of your EVs. We're going to cut all your cheap goods off. And that's it. And we lose. There's no way now, I think, that we can even stand up to China unless we actually shut our doors, started building factories, started building chips, and pharmaceuticals were produced here in America where they should be. We are now an energy dependent nation, a pharmaceutical dependent nation, cheap goods dependent nation. We depend literally on everybody in the world for all of this. And what are they getting for it? They're getting this cheap monopoly, fiat monopoly money. That's what they're getting in return for these products. How much longer do you think that's going to last before these other countries go, hey, we want a gold-backed currency. We're going to go to the yuan or another currency that is going to be partially gold-backed, and that it's a currency that's not weaponized, a currency that isn't going to be supporting all these wars. I just think that people who believe, like Dave Ramsey, that this is all going to go on forever, it's going to be nothing but rainbows, puffy white clouds, and teddy bears. Dave, you're wrong. You're very, very wrong. There is so much happening right now behind the scenes. As I make this video, there are deals being done behind the scenes internationally right now with Russia, China, India, Saudi Arabia, you name it. They're buying more gold. They're using their own currencies. They're going to a new financial system. They're going to trade oil like there's no tomorrow. And we're going to sit here and hope that the windmills work. God bless America. Article today that I thought was really interesting on the hedge. 2 charts for cash-strapped consumers preparing for backyard barbecues. Let me know in the comments down below, the barbecue you're doing this year, have you seen a cut in prices? Are you seeing some relief? I know chicken is down, but meat is up. Most things are up, some things are down, but they compare everything to last year. Why not start comparing things to 2, 3, 4 years ago? It's nice to say that, yeah, we have an improvement. Gas is down $1.40, $1.50 from last year ago, but 2 years ago, out here in California, it was under $3 a gallon at one point. And, you're paying $4.50 right now, but they're telling us that, well, it's better than $6. So, that's great. But it's still way more than we were paying 2 and 3 years ago. Same thing with food, same thing with services, everything we're paying more for. And I was reading in some of the comments in this article on the hedge, and somebody wrote in saying that their propane for their barbecue 3 years ago was $19.99. Today, they paid $27.99. Somebody also said yesterday they got tires for their car, $2,500 for tires. Last year, $800 less. So are you seeing any relief? And what's to say that we're not going to get another wave of inflation somewhere down the road here? I think it's very, very possible. I don't think inflation is 4% or 4.1%. It's much higher than that. And let's also take into account that one way they pushed these inflation numbers down was by draining our strategic petroleum reserves and pushing gasoline prices down. If we weren't using our reserves, where do you think inflation would be right now? Where do you think the gas prices would be right now? And how long can you continue to drain our strategic petroleum reserves now under 50%. This is stuff that is supposed to be untouched, only used for emergencies like war. This is really jeopardizing the safety of everybody in this nation. We're doing it just for the numbers, to say inflation's down when it's really not, because they're just artificially pushing it down because they're using the reserves. That's disgusting. And it's very, very dangerous. Here's another one, Epic Times. U.S. manufacturing falls deeper into recession as economy faces clear challenges. Thank you for admitting falls deeper into recession, not the so-called possible recession coming or soft recession. It's here. Things are going to get much worse, ladies and gentlemen. Prepare for that. And look, I want everybody to enjoy the 4th of July, spend time with family, friends, cook the hot dogs, the steaks, the chicken. God bless America. Enjoy it. But do not think for 1 second that we do not have hard times coming. They are going to slam the brakes on this economy. We have more rate hikes coming, 2 more. I do believe we're going to get a 25 basis point rate hike this July. I looked at bankrate.com yesterday, 7.15% on a 30-year fixed mortgage rate. That's a lot. And if you don't have good credit, you don't have 20% down, you're probably paying close to 8.5% right now. Again, this housing market is 100% unsustainable. First 5 months of 2023, companies announced 417,000 layoffs. That is a 315% increase from the same span a year ago. Consumer confidence is at a 6-month low. Job openings are flattening. And again, interest rates are going up. Here's one from MarketWatch. The economy didn't crater in the first half of 2023, and that means Wall Street was very wrong. No, it does not mean it was very, very wrong. It just means that the stock market is very manipulated. Let's not forget that they just raised the debt ceiling and added another $4+ trillion that you're going to be taxed, money that's going to be printed, money that's going to be borrowed. And so the stock market loved that. But did your life get any better? Did your standard of living get any better because the stock market hasn't cratered? And I will tell you this, I'm really expecting, and I don't make predictions, I don't have a crystal ball, but I'm really curious to see the second half of this year and what we're going to see now for the second half of 2023. This is when I think it's going to really begin to get interesting. But, you know, it's almost like the braggadocious that look at how powerful the stock market is. It can't go down. It's too big. It's just like the Titanic, but we know what happened to the Titanic. We have a fake stock market. It's been completely propped up. It's still being propped up. You cannot sustain these things with this kind of debt. You don't make things here in America. You print lots of money. This is unsustainable. You have multiple major bubbles across the board. And it's all going to come to an end. And when it does, we're going to find out who's prepared and who's not. So I'm going to leave it there today. I just wanted to bring all this to your attention. Again, God bless America. Thank God for this 4th of July. Thank God we have another 4th of July. And if you're spending it with your friends, your family, you're so blessed. We really are blessed. If you have running water, a place to sleep, if you're eating, you're very, very blessed. We take a lot for granted, ladies and gentlemen. We really, really do. I mean, we live still in the best place on planet Earth, in my opinion. And I know a lot of people are going to write me and disagree. But you know what? Do something about it. Make a difference. Make a change. Get vocal. You know, start putting some skin in the game. If you think that things are getting bad, if you think this isn't the greatest country, do something to change that. We all are responsible for how this all plays out. Most people will do nothing. They're going to continue to sit on their couch. They're going to continue to watch garbage on the television. They're going to continue to spend half their day on social media or playing video games. And then they're going to wonder why they don't have anything. They're going to wonder why the country failed. Because you failed it. You failed it. We're all responsible for this. We need to take action. We need to be vocal. We need to be part of this. We need to be in the game. This is the biggest, most important game of your lifetime. The future of America, the greatest country on planet Earth. Make sure that you're participating. Make sure that you're vocal. Make sure that you're in the game, doing something productive. Like go check out the movie, The Sound of Freedom. Go throw a couple bucks and support some people who actually are doing something. You know, if we can't, do things like that, support the people who can, who have the ability to go and save children, the the ability to go fight evil. Take $5, $10, $15, go donate it. Go help some homeless people. Go help some homeless dogs. We got to be doing something except feeling sorry for ourselves or just sitting on the couch and just watching TV, letting that decay our brains. God bless all of you. Thank you so much for the prayers, the support. God bless America. Pray for this country, ladies and gentlemen. Pray for America. We need a miracle. We're going to go through some tough times. You know it. I know it. Prepare. God bless.